Okay, this is Red Rock Search and Rescue, and I'm a little embarrassed to say that they had to rescue me. I just totally exhausted myself going up Pine Creek Canyon, down Oak Creek Canyon, and yeah, I probably would have made it back, but I was traveling about 1 mile every 3 hours by the end, and so these guys really have a system. They gave me all the right electrolytes and nourishment. I could have run back down the trail after the things they gave me. Red Rock Search and Rescue is a volunteer organization. They make it totally by donations. And
visit our website.
Yeah,
redrocksar.org.
Okay, say that again.
redrocksar.org. redrocksar.org.
Okay, and could you guys introduce yourselves? Maybe start over here.
Bill.
There's Bill.
Yep. Greg.
Greg.
Steve.
Teddy.
Robbie.
And Brian.
Zane.
I'm Kent.
Charlie.
And how many are in this organization?
About 150.
150 volunteers. That is just amazing. I would have still been going from shade to shade, tree to tree, rock to rock, all the way to Pine Creek. And these guys really gave me a boost. So I can't say enough good about them. So definitely go to their website. What is that website again?
redrocksar.org.
redrocksar.org. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, it's me, David Smith, creator of LasVegasAreaTrails.com and subject of that Red Rock Search and Rescue incident. 40 years, weekly adventures in the wilderness navigation, climbing, distance running. This is my first incident, and yes, it was a big one. I want to thank Red Rock Search and Rescue. I felt totally supported by this organization. I mentioned in that video clip a moment ago that I could have made it. I could have made it on my own back to the trailhead. But let's have a little reality check. Red Rock Search and Rescue and my family strongly suggested that I go to the emergency room to be checked out. I was feeling great, but after them insisting a few times, yes, I went to the emergency room. Guess what I found out? My CK level, which is a marker for hydration and particular kidney function, well, the normal is around 400. Recently I was tested, it was about 150. When I went to the emergency room that day, the CK level was at 6,000. And so immediately they admitted me into the hospital, and for 3 days I had an IV drip and was rehydrated until my CK level moved down from 6,000 back to at least 1,000. So the significance of the work of Red Rock Search and Rescue comes into sharper focus. I was amazed by their systematic, professional process. They checked my vitals, they hydrated me, they were encouraging, totally non-judgmental. I was expecting them to ream me out for needing to be rescued. There was not an ounce of judgment there. I felt totally supported. Under their care, within just a few minutes of being found, I was able to walk and almost run 3 miles back to the trailhead where they had set up their headquarters. So my thanks to Red Rock Search and Rescue. I'm totally impressed with your work. Now, let's go on to the story behind this incident. What I want to do is analyze what happened, and I want to understand and help others to understand the factors that got me in trouble. And so, what I'm going to do is give you a brief summary of the route and then create a T chart. I always have a mental T chart in my head, and on one side are the factors that are in my favor as I'm out in the wilderness. On the other side are factors that present a warning. And if the factors that present a warning ever get more numerous than the factors in my favor, that's when I know I might be getting into trouble and I need to take action. Let's begin by taking a quick look at the adventure route. What you're looking at is that pointed mountain in the center is Rainbow Mountain. Notice a canyon on either side. The canyon on the right is Pine Creek Canyon. The canyon on the left is Oak Creek Canyon. And then just to the right of that pointed mountain summit, Rainbow Mountain, is a vertical cliff called Rainbow Wall. And so here's a summary of the route. The route started at the Pine Creek Canyon Trailhead. Taking Pine Creek Canyon Trail, we navigated South Pine Creek Canyon, the south branch. We took a second south split into beautiful Terrace Canyon. At the summit of Terrace Canyon, the real climb began. We continued upward, navigating ledges, chutes, and steep cracks. We ascended sandstone slabs. Here's a view back down to Pine Creek Canyon. And so as you can see, the ascent to the summit of Rainbow Wall was very steep, but it was challenging and fun. Once at the summit of Rainbow Wall, that cliff area you saw earlier, we began to descend to Upper Oak Creek Canyon, the canyon that was on the left. Well, we lost the light. The sun set, and we camped by Oak Creek. Then in the morning light, we descended Oak Creek Canyon. One thing about Oak Creek Canyon is that it is a lot more complicated than Pine Creek Canyon. Huge boulders and ledges, thick brush. There's some of the large boulders. More boulders. And more boulders. It's almost non-stop boulders in the canyon. And more thick brush. Here's looking up Oak Creek Canyon from the lower opening. So we emerged from Oak Creek Canyon, and then it was a matter of taking the knoll trail back to the Pine Creek Canyon Trailhead. That was about 1.9 miles. And so that's the route that we took. Now let's take a look at what happened along the way and what resulted in my being a subject of that Red Rock search and rescue incident. I mentioned I was going to create a T-chart, and we take a look at the factors that led to my being the subject of a Red Rock search and rescue incident. And so on the left side of the T-chart are the factors that are in my favor, and on the right side of the T-chart are the factors that create a warning. So let's take a look at these one by one. First of all, on the good side, the okay side, is my experience. 40 years wilderness wandering, every week for 40 years, no incidents. So I had experience. Secondly, I had an independent system. All of my wilderness wanderings were solo adventures. And so I knew how to adventure by myself, and I had a great system. The third factor is my conditioning. I run 5 miles a day, at least 4 days a week, and in addition have my weekly wilderness adventure that can be 10 to 15, sometimes up to 30 miles in the wilderness. And I'm at my ideal weight. Next factor is reporting. On LasVegasAreaTrails.com, you'll notice that every page has a map that is linked to the Google Map system. You can enlarge it, and it has a route on that map. And so I always have that map on my computer at home so that people know where I am. And along with that map are directions on the website. So there's detailed directions and a map. And by the way, this map is an important factor in Red Rock Search and Rescue being able to find me. The next factor on the good side is that I make a point to check in by text message during my adventure at a point where I have coverage. Another factor on the positive side was that we had a water source. Streams were running and we had a water filter. And that literally saved my life. Another positive factor is that I had a heat strategy. And what that means is I knew how to cool myself down, cool my body temperature, rest, and recover on my own. Remember, I had that independent system. And so at one point, I actually sent the others ahead so I could just take my time during that last couple miles and rest and recover, cool my body down. And literally during this last stretch from the opening of Oak Creek Canyon back toward Pine Creek Canyon, I was moving rather slowly. I knew I was in trouble. But I went from boulder to boulder. I'd rest in the shade. It took me about an hour for every half mile, but I was able to cool myself down. And the fascinating factor was that even though I had adequate water and I had food, for some reason, I guess because I was overheated and exhausted, I couldn't keep the water down and I couldn't eat the food. So that was an important discovery. That if you are dehydrated and exhausted, you can reach a point where it doesn't matter if you have water. Water and food will not help. And the important thing is to cool yourself down. And what I did was I would rest in the shade of a boulder. I put a wet rag over my head, and that cooled me down enough so that I could drink some water. And that's where I was moving along at a steady pace. And so I was only 1 mile from the Pine Creek Canyon Trailhead when the Red Rock Search and Rescue team found me. Okay, these are the factors on the good side. Now let's look at the factors that began to add up on the warning side. First of all, the route was unfamiliar. The terrain was unfamiliar. I'm more of a hiker and a trail runner, and I found myself in a rock climbing terrain. Secondly, there was the incline and the altitude. I'm not used to such a near vertical incline over a sustained period of time. I think that the total altitude gain was something like 3,000 feet, but wow, some portions were straight up. We had no turnaround time. That's an important factor. Had we had a turnaround time, we would not have been caught in the canyon, in the dark, unprepared to spend the night. Another factor was that it was getting a bit warm for this kind of adventure. 95 degrees in Las Vegas, and the sun beating down on those sandstone slabs on Rainbow Mountain made things rather hot. Another factor was the conditioning interrupt. I found myself in recent weeks doing a lot of adventures instead of 1 adventure a week. I was doing 3 adventures a week because I'd met some other climbers and it was just fun to do adventures with others. However, with 3 adventures a week, my regular 5 miles a day running was interrupted. And so there was a conditioning interrupt. Another warning factor is that I was with others instead of my customary solo wilderness wanderings. And so I found myself needing to go the speed of others who were more familiar with the route. And I find that the first time I do a wilderness route, I'm about 30% slower than when I go over that route again and I'm familiar with the route. So this was my first time. The people I was with had done this route before. So they were going at a more rapid pace. Now, what also slowed me down is that I was not allowing myself to rest. Instead, during rest time, I was taking my customary videos, pictures, and because of this, every time I caught up with the others who were ahead, they were ready to continue on. I had not had rest. So I should have recognized that this dynamic was occurring. I did not. And then we had that sleepless, cold night in Oak Creek Canyon. And the wind was just relentless, the cold wind. I was not able to sleep after having had no rest the day before. So basically, I was exhausted. And I mentioned that I send a check-in text. And so at the mouth of Oak Creek Canyon, I sent a text to my partner, Darlene, and her family that, hey, I'm fine. I'm working my way out of the canyon. I'm later than planned, but I'm okay. Well, guess what? That text was not delivered. And I only discovered that a few hours later after I'd been rescued by Red Rock Search and Rescue. So because that text was not delivered, the people who care about me panicked and they sent Red Rock Search and Rescue looking for me. And as I mentioned, during that last few miles between the mouth of Oak Creek Canyon and Pine Creek Canyon along the Knoll Trail, even though I had abundant food and water, I could not hold it down. So besides the exhaustion, there was dehydration, and this resulted in my ending up in a bad situation. And so you see the list of factors on the okay side and the list of factors on the warning side of this little T chart. And you see that the warning side is longer than the okay side. It's a good practice to just have this mental list in your head. And if ever you're out in the wilderness and the warning factors begin to stack up and begin to outweigh the factors in your favor, that's when you need to take some action to change whatever you're doing. I was unable to do that on this particular adventure. But take note of this method of determining how things are going during your wilderness adventure. Okay, now for a quick update. It's been about 3 weeks since the search and rescue incident, and I'd like to say that I'm doing very well. I'm back to running my 5 miles a day, 4 days a week, plus a wilderness adventure. So I've had 2 weeks of running and wilderness adventures. But I'd like to take a moment to go over what I'm doing differently. What have I learned? First of all, I carry with me a satellite tracker so that those who care about me and Red Rock Search and Rescue can track where I am. And if I don't show up when I'm supposed to show up, they know where to find me. I also carry with me a water filter. Remember, the water filter pretty much saved my life on this last adventure. But take note, during the summer, springs are hard to find. Water sources are hard to find. And a filter is not going to help you if there's no water source. You might take a look at the map on Las Vegas area trails that fits the wilderness adventure you planned. You'll find on that map where springs are listed. It's good to know where there's water. Another upgrade. Remember how I'd sent a text that said, hey, I'm okay, and I'm heading for the trailhead? Well, it didn't go through. So I'm planning to double check the text delivery in the future to make sure it actually went through. And if I'm with others, before the adventure, we'll go over the itinerary in detail. And we'll also have a hard turnaround time. In addition, I want to make sure that I give myself the rest time I need along the way. So I'm not going to get so involved in taking pictures and videos that I'm doing that instead of resting. And here's what I'm going to continue to do that I've always done before. I'm going to remember to put the adventure route map from Las Vegas area trails on my computer, leave it at home so that those who care about me can use that to know where I am. I'm going to work a little harder to stick to an average 70-degree temperature. And you can do that. That's one of the wonders of Las Vegas area. For every 1,000 feet elevation gain, you lose about 5 degrees of temperature. So you just plan the higher elevations when it's hot in Las Vegas, and you plan to be in the lower elevations when it's cold in Las Vegas. So just be aware of the temperature in Las Vegas and predict based on the altitude of your adventure what the temperature will be at that altitude. I'm going to continue to carry up to 6 liters of water based on the length of the adventure and the temperature. I bring to each adventure my experience and conditioning. I'm going to keep that conditioning current. And finally, I'm going to respect those who care about me and work to inform them, to educate them on the wilderness, because very often we're with people for whom the wilderness is a strange and scary place. And when we're out there, they are very concerned about what's happening. I've got to say that there is no substitute for having people around you who care, even when sometimes they're mistaken, sometimes they're right. You can learn from them. Anyone who's surrounded by people who care is a very lucky person. And we're all very fortunate to have an organization like Red Rock Search and Rescue that's out there and has our back. So continue to adventure in the wilderness. Have fun, enjoy the wonder of being out there. And all the while, observe what's happening, learn from your experiences, and continually improve and upgrade your strategy. And I want to finally end with a new discovery I made while I was being rescued. It's interesting that Red Rock Search and Rescue, some of the people that connected with me and guided me back to the trailhead, they were really happy. One remarked, "Wow, we actually found someone." I thought, well, do you often not find people out there? And then I went to their website. I looked at the testimonial page. And I want to end by reading a few testimonials from that testimonial page on the Red Rock Search and Rescue website. These testimonials sadly show that very often the Red Rock Search and Rescue teams are unable to find the person who is missing. This group was formed in memory of my nephew, Ron Kirk, who went missing in the Red Rock Canyon on January 17, 2012. Judy Ross Smith. And another testimonial. Although we didn't find my son Robert today, they're just waiting to see if another clue might turn up as to where he might be. At least I no longer feel alone. A third testimonial. So incredibly grateful for this wonderful organization. They organized a strategic search team to help find our missing daughter. We're still looking for her and very hopeful we will find her. Yet another testimonial. Appreciation for their time and effort in trying to locate my missing beautiful son, Larry. Throughout this week, they've given their free time to try and find a person whose soul is lost. And a final testimonial. I will forever carry you in my heart for everything that you continue to do for our family and other families that have suffered loss.